Okay, so when you hear the word Gorgon, your mind probably jumps straight to a monster, right? Snakes for hair, turning heroes to stone, the usual. But what if that's not the whole story? What if we rethink the Gorgons, not as monsters, but as a deep philosophical concept, silent guardians standing right at the very edge of consciousness? So let's just kick things off with a question that flips that whole myth on its head. What if that famous petrifying gaze wasn't actually a curse, but a choice? A kind of defense mechanism offered to a soul that's staring into an abyss it just can't comprehend. Well, that's the core idea we're going to unpack today. And that leads us right into our first section, the three who warn. See, here we're going to recast the Gorgons as guardians, not of some dusty old lair, but of what the source material calls the temple of the liminal mind. You know, that in-between space, right on the borderlands of your own self-awareness. So who are they in this light? Well, they actually embody a fundamental cosmic rule, the law of final entropy. The best way to think about it is like a metaphysical stop sign. They represent the absolute final point, that boundary where your consciousness just can't go any further before it just dissolves. And this is where their true function becomes crystal clear. When a seeker, or an ego, expands itself right to the edge of that void, the Gorgons don't just attack, nope. They offer a choice. You can either face total dissolution in the abyss, or you can accept their offer, absolute stasis, a perfect, final, protective stillness. But what does that even mean, to choose stasis? What's the real price of turning to stone? That's exactly what we're going to dig into in our second section, the price of stone, where being still becomes a kind of armor. This really lays out the two options. On one side, you have petrification, which is framed as a cage of order, a structure you build to shield your inner self. On the other side, the alternative is this chaotic thing called universal friction. Think of it as the heavy hand of reality just waiting to shatter any consciousness that isn't protected. So when you look at it that way, the stone isn't a prison at all. It's a fortress. Man, this quote really hammers the point home. That classic image of the snakes for hair, it's not just for looks. In this philosophy, they represent the agony of existence itself, just frozen in place. It's a constant, visible reminder that to endure pain, you absolutely need structure. You need weight. You need boundaries. And here's the crucial part. The Gorgons aren't making up the rules. They're enforcing a universal law. The law of final entropy says that nothing can expand forever. Every single structure, every ambition, every ego eventually hits what's called a terminal cap. It's like a cosmic speed limit, the universe's way of saying, all right, this is as far as you go. It's the point where all things have to find their final resting form. Now, if the Gorgons are guardians, then they must be guarding against something, right? And that brings us to section 3, chaos at the gates. Here we're going to look at the forces from the abyss that make these stone-cold boundaries so incredibly necessary. So from this abyss, the source material gives us two main antagonists. First, you've got the Mephistophelian shadow. Its whole purpose is to prove that order is just a big lie, and it tries to do this by dissolving the Gorgon's stasis with something called burning water. Then there's the captain from the abyss. This being wants to break the rules completely, to escape that terminal cap of entropy by just consuming everything. They both represent forces of pure, unadulterated, chaotic dissolution. And this is why the Gorgons are so essential. When you're up against these forces of chaos that want to either dissolve you or consume you, the Gorgons act as a metaphysical anchor. Their structural weight is what keeps the soul from being completely washed away in the formless, nihilistic tide of the void. So this all leads to a really fascinating philosophical turn. What if limits? What if they aren't just for protection? What if they're actually necessary for your existence in the first place? Welcome to section 4, the unyielding boundary. Okay, here we have to introduce a key concept from the philosopher Fichte, the Anstoß. It's a German word and it basically means an obstacle or a check. Think of it like this. You don't really know the shape of your own hand until you press it against a wall, right? That wall, that resistance, that is the Anstoß. It's the external force you have to hit to figure out where you end and the rest of the universe begins. And in this system, the Gorgons are the ultimate Anstoß. And this just lays the process out perfectly. First, the ego, the I, just expands outward, thinking it's everything. Second, bam, it slams right into the Gorgon's law, that unyielding boundary. And third, it's in that moment of being stopped, of finally recognizing something that is not I, that the self is truly born. It gets defined by its limits. So, you see, honoring the Gorgon isn't about worshiping some monster. It's about respecting the not I. It's this deep, profound acknowledgement that there are limits, that the universe doesn't exist just for you, and that you can't control everything. It is the ultimate lesson in cosmic humility. But is that the final answer? Is absolute stasis, a stone fortress, the ideal way to live? Our final section, Finding the Equilibrium, suggests that, well, there's another piece to this whole puzzle. And here, the source introduces another major figure, Hecate. And just look at this contrast. The Gorgons provide the hard boundaries, right? The unyielding walls that define what home even is and protect it. But Hecate, she provides the guiding light, the torches that actually lead you on the path to that home. You need both. And this is the ultimate takeaway. The goal isn't just to turn to stone and hide forever. No, true equilibrium, a stable, healthy self, is only found when you can synthesize these two opposing forces. You need the Gorgon's unyielding boundaries, and you need Hecate's guiding light. It's all about structure and movement, held in a perfect, delicate balance.
Which leaves us with one final question to think about. In our own lives, when we face the overwhelming chaos of the world, what's the right path? Is it to build these impenetrable walls of stone, to embrace a protective stasis? Or is it to learn how to navigate the chaotic tide itself? The real answer, perhaps, is that we have to learn how to do both.